Hi everyone, it's week one, so we're just kind of going to get our feet wet with some basics about web programming this week. So we've got a number of activities that we're going to do today, but we're kind of going to take a 1,000-foot view for the moment. So a big part of what we want to do in this course is we want to shift our perspective from someone who simply uses internet technologies and web technologies to someone who understands what's happening behind the scenes with them. So we're really going to sort of shift our perspective on the web applications that we're using every day. So, we all use websites, web applications every day, either on our mobile devices, our desktops, our laptops, our tablets. But we're really just kind of used to that end user experience. And what we want to think about is how do we actually put these things together? Just to give you some analogies, some of you have probably been here. Most of you, even if you've never been here, it's a famous enough landmark, you probably recognize where this is. So, we're famous place, the Golden Gate Bridge. So we look at it from one perspective, but if you're an engineer, you see, through a very different lens. So not only do we see what the end user sees, but an engineer is going to look at that bridge and start to think about what's actually happening. How is this put together? How does it stand up? How has it stood the test of time? From an under the hood, a structural perspective. So what we're going to learn to do in this course is learn to think about and how do we architect and put together web solutions so that other people can use them. Just give you a couple other examples. Somebody might see this if you're a race car fan, and we see the outside of the car. If you're a mechanic like this guy, really you're going to look at that car and you're going to be thinking about what is literally under the hood. What's the engine? What's the technology in the car look like? At the Olympics, many of us watch this guy. We've watched him win gold medals for the last several Olympics. We see an athlete at his peak performing. Yet if you're something like a therapist, an athletic trainer, we can watch a runner and we can think about how is the body put together? How do we need to train that person in order to be able to maximize their performance? So, here's something probably many of you have already been on this site today. It needs no introduction. So, we see this, we interact with this technology every day, but we want to start to think about it the way this person does. Really thinking about how is this actually put together? What's the presentation? What's the code? What's the functionality that we need in order to build an application that does that kind of thing? How's it put together? What are all the pieces, not only from the code, but from an architecture perspective? And again, what are all the tools and technologies that we need and how do they interact together? So that's really the focus of our course. Now, there is some good news, which is, we take all these different technologies, which we're teaching you here at Georgian, and a lot of people think that really web applications is really some sort of magic. And that's good. We want people to think it's magic. That means they're going to pay us to build this stuff. But the reality is web applications, they're really a lot simpler than that. So we're really going to leverage the knowledge you got from semester one, from your knowledge of HTML and CSS from your web and internet fundamentals course, and your knowledge from your programming fundamentals course. In this course, we're going to kind of marry some of those concepts together. Really, at the end of the day, the applications we're building, they all get compiled down to ones and zeros and basic programming logic for allowing us to create, read, update, and delete data and present that on some kind of HTTP-enabled device. That's really where we're going and what we want to do. So we're going to use more advanced technologies in some later web courses, and we're going to use sort of some fundamental technologies and principles in this course. So really all web applications do is they're an interface for letting users create, read, update, and delete data. And what data means really depends on what our application is designed to do. So if we think about Facebook, some of the data we have here. And again, you're going to learn more about managing data in your relational database course. Here's some of the data that Facebook manages, things like user profiles, posts, photos, likes. So all Facebook really does, all the website does, is allow us to add things like likes or posts or photos. And mostly we're reading the data that our friends and other people we know are putting into the Facebook database. If we look at an e-commerce site like Amazon, its data is not only the products that it displays, but things like the product images, the reviews from customers, and then it exists so that customers will create orders and shipping records so that Amazon can generate revenue. If we look at a news site like the Globe and Mail, Canada's biggest newspaper, we think about what's in the Globe and Mail database. Well, we have things like the articles, the categories, the writers, etc. And really the Globe and Mail's website or even their mobile application is nothing more than a programming interface that allows users to interact with this data in the database. So once we understand how to be able to create, read, update, and delete data in a web application, we should be able to build any kind of web application managing any type of data set. I like to think about, if we think about the infrastructure, it actually works kind of like when you go out for drinks with friends. In each case, there's a number of different components that integrate together that ultimately are designed to give people what they want. So let's kind of compare this a little bit. So in a pub, we have a bunch of stuff that people want, which would be the drinks behind the bar. On something like a social media site like Facebook, users come because they want to see new posts, new updates from their friends or other relevant users that they're interested in. So in each case, though, we don't have a way to go and get directly what we want. When we're in the pub, we can't walk behind the bar and go and grab any drink we want. We're on Facebook. Facebook doesn't give us direct access to their database, so we can just go in and pull out whatever we want. So, the things that people want in both cases, they're kind of behind a wall. So in a pub, that wall is literal. It's a half wall. There's a bar, and as a customer, you're not allowed behind the bar. Well, in a web application, the information that we want is stored in a database, usually in different tables. And again, we're not given direct access to the databases that we want to access. We can see the data, but we're going to have to build some infrastructure around that. So in each case, how do we get it? How do I get my drink? How do I get my beer in the bar? Or how do I get, say, the list of current posts on my Facebook feed? Well, in each case, we're going to make a request. So in the pub, we're going to ask this guy, he's going to come to our table and he's going to ask us what it is each person wants to drink. So in effect, he's taking our request. In a web application, we can make a request by simply sending an address. Either we type an address in our browser's address bar, or maybe we click on a link, and that link sends a URL request off to a web server. Now, there's got to be something or someone on the other end who can listen to that request. Or we have to have a way to issue those instructions. So our server might carry one of these. They might carry a notepad to write down people's orders. In our web application, we use a language which you're going to learn in your relational database called SQL, structured query language, works on any kind of database, and it allows us to issue instructions against the database. For example, show all of the new posts that are connected to one of my friends' profiles. So if we issue those requests, we hope that we're asking for things in the pub that the bar has, and in the database, we hope that there's going to be data that comes back when we issue our request. So in a pub, our server is hopefully going to return to us, to our table with the drinks that everyone ordered. In a web application, let's say we want to see a friend's photo album. By clicking on that album link, we're making a request to the Facebook database to display all the photos to us. So again, we have all these different pieces working together in the bar. We have a bar, we've got the seating, the menu, the server, the bartender, and these things work together in order to be able to ultimately get each person the drink that they ordered. In a web application, again, we have these different components. Nothing really is capable of giving us data what we want all on its own. So our information stored in a database, our users have some kind of HTTP enabled device, and then we use SQL and server-side scripting to issue those requests to our database, and then the data that comes back is presented and wrapped, displayed, and packaged in our HTML. So we've got all these different components working together, and the focus of this course is so that you understand how to use this technology stack to be able to basically build any kind of web application that an employer or a client might ask from you. So let's get started.